Hina, as many of you know, but some of you won't know, founded Pakistan's first all-woman law firm. She founded the first legal aid centre and National Human Rights Commission. She is an advocate of the Supreme Court of Pakistan since 1992. She established the first all-woman law firm in 1980, and then the Legal Aid Centre. And she's conducted many landmark cases, setting new standards for human rights in Pakistan, with a particular focus on the rights of women, the rights of children, and vulnerable minorities.
When I served as UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, I used to worry very much about Hina and her sister, both of whom were frontline human rights defenders in Pakistan, and they seemed somehow part of my responsibility, so I used to worry about her. When I ceased to be High Commissioner, I didn't worry about her anymore, and really she doesn't need to be worried about, because she's somebody who knows how to work in a difficult climate, but work extremely well, and she will tell us about that.
Thank you, Mary, for those kind words. Let me first of all thank the Mary Robinson Center for giving me this privilege to be in this wonderful town with the beautiful river. I didn't know that this is really the salmon capital of the world. And thank you, Mary Robinson Center, for giving me also the privilege to speak and give a lecture associated with Mary's name. When you see injustice, don't turn your face away. Because anyone who does that is indirectly encouraging injustice by not fighting it. Let me talk a little bit about the harm that human rights defenders confront every day of their life. When you actually read the number of people who have been killed, disappeared, put under detention, in many ways their fundamental freedoms have been restricted only because of carrying out activities concerned with the protection and promotion of human rights. Journalists have been silenced. Lawyers have been excommunicated. Judges have been executed. Health workers have suffered harm, especially at the hands of new players who we call the non-state actors. In my country, for instance, which suffers from an epidemic of polio, health workers are the targets of militant groups who will not allow children to be vaccinated against polio. So when I became the Special Representative on Human Rights Defenders, I realized that there is no one group that can be called human rights defenders. Anyone who is protecting any of the recognized human rights and fundamental freedoms, whether it is leaders of indigenous communities fighting for their right to their culture or to their land, judges insisting on doing justice to persecuted communities, health workers, humanitarian workers, they are all doing the work of human rights. In my country, our leadership has time and again employed the slogan of Asian values, and many times attacked human rights defenders from my region as being agents of the West. And I laugh at them for two reasons. Firstly, I laugh at them because I think that they do not know or remember their history. Coming from the subcontinent, we have thousands, not hundreds, thousands of years of struggles to our merit. Who knows the value of freedom more than people who have either been colonized by foreign powers or lived under extremely oppressive indigenous rules? So we are not alien to the concepts of human rights or alien to the struggles that have been waged for centuries to achieve those. The other reason why I laugh at them is because these are people who are trying to give the credit for human rights values to the West without recognizing our own input into those values. The South has as much to contribute as the North.
There's another tool, Mary, when looking at the corporate side, the corporate violations of human rights, and that's a resource centre, the Business and Human Rights Resource Centre that I think you're familiar with. It's business-humanrights.org is the website, and what they do is they get a lot of complaints, for example, of a small factory in, say, India, just to stay in Asia for the moment, and then they find that there's sweatshop conditions in it, and that some of the goods were bought by the Gap, say, by big name, and then there's a complaint has been filed, and what they do is they get in touch with whatever the organisation is that has a brand that they want to protect, and they give them an opportunity to respond, and it's a very good way of doing.
Yeah.
Well, I heard recently from the head of that, Phil Bloomer, who's a good friend of this Business and Human Rights Resource Centre, that the most complaints they're getting now are complaints of violations of human rights by companies that are providing clean energy. And this really hurts me, but they're doing it the wrong way. They're big projects, big dams, big land grabs, displacing people, not listening, there's been just a rise in the complaints of human rights violations by those who are, providing clean energy, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
And that's why when we talk about climate justice now, we often say it's not just a case of the injustice of how the impacts of climate are affecting the very poorest. It's that we must have a human rights, people-centered approach to everything we do about it, because we will have unintended consequences otherwise, or we will violate human rights in the name of getting energy quickly to a power station or a company. So it's we have to be very thoughtful about the human rights dimensions of this.
And you've seen so much horror, and you've seen so much injustice. Can you tell me how you have managed to find the resilience to keep going? Because I'm sure everybody here would like to know that. So who'd like to start? Hina.
Well, it's not resilience, but it's also a recognition that if I've seen a lot of injustice, I've also seen a lot of justice being done. So I think it is these, whether they are small or big, these successes are important too. As I said, yes, we have to mention the shortcomings all the time and remember them, because these are the shortcomings that we are in the business to remove. But it is also important to give ourselves the ability and what you call resilience to fight, is to also look at what we've got. And we have. As a woman, women's rights defender in Pakistan, I know that the situation is bad and that we have to go a long way, but I also know that we have achieved a lot. We have achieved a lot, and I think it's therefore there is no reason for pessimism.